So here we are, step 2 of the hallacas, making the dough. As I mentioned previously, this is what my grandmother used to tell me. The dough is as important as everything else that goes in. If you have a bad dough, it does not matter how delicious your stew is. You cannot eat the hallaca, literally speaking. So here we go. We're gonna use a whole kilo, or it's about 2 pounds of harina pan, so 1 package. So you pour all of the flour, and then it's good to have somebody help you with this, because as we get started, you're gonna see how it's really messy, and somebody needs to help you with the pouring of the ingredients. Then we're gonna do broth, and this is the broth in which the hen that you use to cook the water that you use to cook the hen with. So once you had degreased the broth, it used this same broth for the dough. Okay, so you're using the broth, then you're gonna dye it with annatto, and then you gotta make sure that it has enough oil or grease. Usually we use lard or just vegetable grease until you find the right point. So essentially, this is the annatto seed that you boil with lard, and you boil it so that the annatto releases its color. And this is what the indigenous people use as a dye for textiles, and it's something that we've used for many hundreds of years to dye the flour. All right, so we're almost getting there. We need some salt. The broth has already some salt, but it's not a bad idea to add a little bit of salt. Remember, as I was saying, because this is boiled many times over, it does lose some of its taste. All right, so this is the thing you learn from your grandmother, not from a book. So if you see my hands, they're not shiny. So it means that I need to put a little bit more lard. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take some of this lard and keep adding some of it to make sure that this is shiny and ready. I decided to add a little bit more annatto and lard because it wasn't orange enough and it wasn't shiny enough. You can tell my hands right now are much shinier than they were before. So after your dough is shiny and orange and rested and ready to be rolled, you're gonna be making a lot of the balls. As I said with the leaves, you wanna make sure that you have everything prepped. So you wanna make as many balls as you can so that you could do sets of 10, 20, 30 hallacas at a time. Okay, so we are ready to assemble the hallacas. Let me tell you a little bit about what is in this dish. Let's start by describing the stew. The stew is a 3-meat stew. It has pork, hen, and beef. And it's done Caracas style. What that means is it's got a combination of flavors. It's got spice, it's got sweetness, it's got sour, and it's got saltiness. You cannot identify any one of these flavors by itself. It's just a combination of these flavors that's so characteristic about our cuisine. And it's really an explosion and a very distinct explosion of flavors in your palate. Something that if you haven't tasted before, I think you're going to enjoy it. Now, when you're making this stew, it's a very long recipe. You have to boil the hen, you have to let it cool down, you have to shred the hen, then you have to cook the pork, and then you have to cook the meat. We're talking about a day and a half already into the recipe. Then you make the stew. And as you know, stews taste much better a day or two after they've been made. So we're making this stew. We're pretty much today, it would be about day 3 of the preparation process, after you have cleaned the plantain leaves and after you have done the stew. What we have here is you have the stew that you make, and then you have adornos or decorations, which is a representation of some of the things that you will find in the stew. You have salt pork, you have red bell pepper, almonds, white onions, raisins, capers, and olives. Some of these ingredients are not American. They're absolutely of European or Mediterranean influence. The olives, the capers, the raisins, and that's really what makes this dish unique. You have the plantain leaves that are of African heritage. They come from Asia, they went to Africa, they came to the Americas through slavery. Then you have the dough, which is made with corn flour, which is authentic indigenous. It's what people use to make their bread. And then you have the stew, which I just explained, is 100% of Spanish or European influence. You put all of this together, and right there you have what characterizes Venezuelan culture or our mestizaje. Is the influence of all of these 3 cultural heritages that makes us Venezuelans the people that we are. And in this dish, you will taste exactly that. That's why people in Venezuela, if they don't have hallacas for Christmas, they feel like they didn't have the right Christmas. So let's go ahead and let's start making the hallacas.